Hey everyone, what's going on? Welcome back to another episode of the Retro Gamers Podcast, episode 187. Larry here.
And Anthony here.
What is going on, sir? How are you today?
That's how I am.
Peachy. I like it.
It's been a crazy week. It's been a crazy year. Understatement of the century. But no, just been a very busy week work wise and stuff. I've been kind of a little bit distracted. My gaming has suffered this week, and I am sad.
That's rough.
Yeah.
What? Just you know what? Just one of those weeks. Sometimes it's gonna.
It happens.
No.
It happens.
Hey, man.
But the important thing is the week is over.
Yes.
And I'm here.
Yes.
And we're talking gaming, which is what I love to do. So, how about you? How was your week?
It goes. Again, just haven't left the house, so that's basically about it. As people can see at home on YouTube and hopefully can hear on the podcast itself, I'm constantly evolving my little podcast studio here. So basically kind of futzed around with that. Got a mixing board. I'm going to have some screens coming in. I got everything starting to happen. So, and you can hear the boom. So we'll lower that. There it goes again.
You're getting fancy.
I'm trying to. It makes me, feel like a real broadcaster.
Meanwhile, I just try my best to keep my cats out of my space here that I have in the kitchen.
That's the problem. Those darn cats.
Yes, they do get in the way.
On a complete non sequitur side note, I just saw a video of some guy raising like a two-faced cat. They named the cat Duo. The cat was born.
Makes sense.
Oh, totally. The cat was born like literally with two faces, but it had three eyes.
Aw.
Oh yeah, and it was weird because it had two mounts, and when it would go to feed, like the mounts were fighting each other. So the cat was kind of like staggering. But for the most part, this guy raised it. I think they had the middle eye removed or whatever. I'm sitting. I'm like, why am I watching this two-faced cat? What am I doing? This is what I'm down to on YouTube. I'm watching kittens. I'm watching people eating food in the streets of like Taiwan and Japan, and I'm watching people care for like cow hooves. So
I will reserve my judgment, but just ask a simple question. Why not watch some speed runs or some gaming or something like that? Like,
truth be told, I don't want games to be ruined because one day I'd like to beat them myself. But sometimes just get enthralled just watching a guy just take care of like digital dermatitis on the back hoof of a cow.
No. I'm just gonna say that straight out. No.
Don't even check my YouTube history then. So what we're gonna
trust me, I don't think that's the worst thing on your YouTube history. So let's move on.
So this week, we're actually going to kick off a little bit of a continuation from last week because we have some new news as far as the Sega announcement that we talked about last week. You know, the mystery announcement, I should say.
Yeah. So Sega was there was a rumor coming out that Sega had this like revolutionary announcement. They gave an exclusive interview to a Japanese magazine, and they were saying that the information was going to drop in the magazine on June 4th. We speculated last week, and the whole internet speculated, and they were talking about, is Sega teaming up with Microsoft because Microsoft has a poor representation in Japan, so they were trying to boost it, or is Sega coming out with the Sega Dreamcast 2? There were a bunch of rumors being circling around. Then came the announcement. First off, came the announcement of the Sega Game Gear Micro, which everybody like got caught off guard with, and they were like, "Oh, is that the big announcement? That doesn't make sense."
So pump the brakes just for a moment because I don't want to get too far ahead of this because I do want to talk Game Gear Micro.
Well, we'll get back to it. I'm just touching on it really briefly.
Okay.
And people were like, "Oh, is that the big announcement?" And that was not it. So the June 4th magazine came out. And then the big scoop is that Sega is introducing something called Fog Gaming into their arcades in Japan. Now, their arcades in Japan are massive and they're extremely popular, and you can find them pretty much all over the place. I know I've been there, and let me tell you something. Walking into one of those places, it's like walking into
Yeah.
it's like walking into like a bar or a club that everybody, like everybody goes to. Like it's really packed. Lots of smokers. It's really packed.
Is it a lot of smoking over there?
Yeah, they do.
Okay, fair enough.
Yep. So really packed, lots of people, and then in terms of the arcade games themselves, they just have like lines of the same games, and they're just all lined up against the wall. Like you'll find like 8 or 9 or 10 of the same game against one wall, 8 or 9 or 10 of the same game on another wall, and that's how they have it set up. It's almost like, actually, it's more like going to a casino. You have like the video poker tables and the slot machines. It's just that they're all video games.
I think that's a much better comparison. And plus, all the game cabinets look the same.
Yep.
The down, I think they're all basically sit down cabinets, right? There really aren't many. I mean, I'm sure there are. I'm not saying there's none, but in these cafes, if you will, they're mostly all sit downs with the idea of people playing for the long haul.
Yeah, exactly. That's the thing. Like people will sit in there all day and just play.
They had a little bit of this set up at the Retro Expo last year, Long Island Retro Gaming Expo, where they had it's these white cabinets. Again, they're all shaped the same, just have the different marquee and then the screens and the controls. So it kind of, not completely, because they weren't like side by side on top of each other, but you had a feel of what something like this would look like in one of these arcades. So that's pretty interesting. So Fog, what was it called? Fog?
They're calling it Fog Gaming.
Are they like hit you in the back of the head and you just kind of stumble your way through the game?
No, that's just what happens to you on Saturdays normally.
Yes.
But no, Fog Gaming is kind of similar to cloud gaming. So I guess maybe the way to equate this is what? Why are you laughing?
Sega. All right. So some sort of online gaming. So the execs at Sega are like, all right, we got this online gaming. What do we call it? Do we call it cloud gaming? No, Microsoft pretty much has lock on cloud. With the project, I think like cloud something or other. Apple has iCloud. I imagine someone going, what's like a cloud? A fog? Okay, it's a fog is a more sadder cloud.
Right. So Sega's going sadder with Fog Gaming. And essentially what that is their physical arcade locations are basically becoming cloud gaming data centers, which means that you can still go to the arcade and physically play the games.
Yeah.
But if you don't want to go there to do it, you can fog game the game, which is basically like playing the game on the cloud. So you don't have to physically go to the arcade centers anymore to play these games.
So it's like gambling in New Jersey. You can gamble online in New Jersey.
Exactly. Or I thought maybe a good equivalent to that would be like the Google Stadia. Like the Google Stadia, all of the gaming is cloud-based, right?
Yes. No, absolutely. Yeah.
Yeah. So think of it that way. It's like the Google Stadia, but for an actual arcade location.
No,
so
what I'm asking is, and I know you're not, like, you're reading this, so if you have the answer, I'm saying, like, say the Fog arcade location has Ms. Pac-Man, WrestleFest, and Mortal Kombat 2. So, like, if you log into that center, the only 3 games you're playing are Ms. Pac-Man, WrestleFest, and Mortal Kombat 2.
Right.
Okay.
Right. But the arcades in Japan are completely different. Like I said, compared to the arcades here, where you see like 100 games in an arcade. There you may just see like there may be like one floor, and trust me, these arcades are multi-level. You'll like walk up to one floor and it's all the same game. So like there's and obviously the whole idea is that people are playing against each other. It's not like a single player Miss Pac-Man. It's like, no, everybody's playing each other in the arcade. Yep. I mean, that's part of the appeal of it.
In party.
Right. So yeah, it's like big arcade party. So the idea behind the fog gaming is that you don't have to go to the arcade anymore. You pay a fee to access the fog gaming element
Hmm.
for that arcade, and then you play it. You can play it remotely. And you know the news coming out of this is like the perfect timing for something like this, because obviously we're in a pandemic and you can't have people in enclosed spaces, and a lot of these arcades have been closed,
Hmm.
so they haven't been making any money. Now all of a sudden, Sega comes out with this fog gaming system. This is the perfect opportunity for them to be able to make
Yeah.
their content mobile, basically.
I wonder if they kind of had this planned even before the pandemic happened.
Oh yeah, I don't think they just made this in the last couple of months. This is something that takes, I would think, years.
So
So
how do you, pandemic aside,
mhm.
how do you feel about, because in arcade, we here in the US, arcades unfortunately have kind of gone to the wayside.
Yeah, pretty much.
Find some, but they're not like they used to. I mean, nothing is really like it used to be. But like you said, in Japan, these arcades are still running wild. But like, I don't know, like the appeal of an arcade was to go out, to socialize, see your friends. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So, that as much as I'm all digital, don't get me wrong, like I'm digital versus physical. At the same time, I'm waiting for Game On to reopen so I can head back out there and play games with other people. That's like the
Yeah.
closest thing.
Well, and that's basically what the arcades in Japan are like. I mean, like I said, remember I originally equated it to like a bar. You know how like you may not be. It's like you may have a group of friends that you're only friends with at a certain place or for a certain thing.
Mhm.
So like if you're a person who goes to a bar and you hang out at a bar, you'll see other regulars there, and maybe you become friendly with the other regulars at the bar, but you don't see them outside of that location. It's kind of this. It's kind of similar in some Japan arcades. Granted, friends will come together in groups, but in other cases, it's like you have your regulars at the arcade that know each other at the arcade,
Dorm. Yeah, no, totally.
basically,
Totally.
where everybody knows your name in
Yeah.
Japan. So yeah, so that was the big news, and the Japanese reporter who came out and said this was like a big revolutionary news. It may be big news in Japan, obviously, not so big news for the rest of the world. So this thing kind of blew up in a way it probably shouldn't have, because it wasn't really a big global announcement for Sega. It was, unless they're planning on taking these arcade centers out of Japan and installing them elsewhere. But I don't think that's the case. So
No, I mean, I'm sure there'll be a way, you get these VPNs, you're able to log in from all over the world. But
right,
yeah, it definitely sounded like more of a, like a local news, local being local for
mm-hmm.
Japan.
Yeah,
Um, what ended up being the bigger news, I think, worldwide would be the Game Gear Micro.
yeah. And do you want to
I do.
talk about that?
Yeah, so what Tuesday, maybe Wednesday, this past
Mm-hmm.
week, shortly after we dropped our episode,
Yeah.
uh this announcement of a Game Gear Mini at first. So actually, and you told me about it, you sent me the link. I'm like, oh,
Yes.
all right, that's weird. Well, actually not much weird, because the Genesis, and then come the Genesis came the Game Gear, so it kind of made sense. And we haven't really had a mini for a handheld system for a couple years now. Nintendo, the rumor has been a Game Boy Mini, which I still think would be amazing, but
Mm-hmm.
nothing happened from it. So Sega announces this Game Gear Mini. I'm like, okay, you know what? I'm in. But I'm like, a Game Gear is already kind of mini. So like,
Mm-hmm.
what would you do from that? So in my head, my thought process originally was, okay, they're going to throw 20, 30 games, a lower number, because admittedly, not as many hits on a handheld as opposed to a console.
Mm-hmm.
So I'm thinking, all right, good handful of games on a Game Gear Mini. It had some good games, but not a lot of good games. So I read more into it, and it's not really a mini. The official name is the Game Gear Micro.
Mm-hmm.
And what it is it is literally a mic. I don't know if you have the stats in front of you of it, but
I
it
don't, but I can pull that up in 2 seconds.
so it's basically four different Game Gear Micros with a screen that's like like an inch and a half big or something like that. These thumbs, I don't know how would work with a Game Gear Micro. 4 different colors, and each Micro will only have 4 games in it.
Mm-hmm. The hardware itself is 80 millimeters by 43 millimeters by 20 millimeters with a 1.15 inch display.
Sounds
There
about
is, yep, it includes a single mono speaker and a headphone jack. It charges over USB, but can also run off 2 AAA batteries, if it gives you any idea on how small that is.
the batteries are almost as big as the system.
Yes.
And what are the 4 colors? I know black, yellow.
You have black, blue, yellow, and red.
All right. And do you happen to have which games are on which?
Yes, I do. So the black Game Gear comes with Sonic the Hedgehog, Puyo Puyo 2, Outrun, and Royal Stone.
They're great games. Don't get me wrong.
Yep.
And the traditional black Game Gear,
Yes.
that's be sought out.
Correct. And then the blue one is Sonic Chaos, Gunstar Heroes, Sylvan Tale, and Baku Baku Animal.
Okay, again, some great games.
Mm-hmm. And now the yellow one, which is the one that I like.
Really, I don't like the color scheme on the yellow.
No. I don't like the color scheme on the yellow, but the games on the yellow are Shining Force Gaiden, Shining Force The Sword of Haya, and Shining Force Gaiden Final Conflict, and Nazapuyo Ururu no Ru.
There you go. Which I think is another kind of version of Shining Force or something.
Yeah, so basically you're getting 4 RPGs.
Ridiculous. Now, the question, of course, will be whether they'll be translated into English. I'm going to say no, because as of right now, this looks like a Japanese.
This is Japanese only. And then the red version contains Revelations, The Demon Slayer, Megami Tensei Gaiden, Last Bible Special, the GG Shinobi, and Columns.
Columns. The only one I recognize was Columns.
Yep.
4 games or 5 games on that one?
4.
Okay.
So each one comes with 4 games.
All right. So each one has 4 games. The reason why I don't like the yellow color scheme is those green buttons.
Yeah, it's definitely ugly.
There was a blue Game Gear, so that one kind of makes sense.
Yeah. So the other thing is, this is for Japan only. The pre-order is available now. They ship October 6th. Now, here's where you lose me, because this thing is tiny and it comes with 4 games. And we've seen how much minis cost with 20 games and stuff like that. These suckers cost $50 each.
And 4 games, $50, definitely seems like a more of a collector. Again, this is a situation that's going to fall under a collector's buy than a regular buy. But before we get to that, just talking about the screen, and what did you say, 1.15 inches?
1.15 inches. Now, really quickly before you talk about the screen, if you're willing to drop $250 on all 4 consoles, they're calling them consoles, even though if you bought all 4 separately, it's $200. But for $250, you get a mini version of the Sega Big Window magnifying glass accessory, which used to come with the you remember the Game Boy Micro had one of those?
Actually, the Game Boy Micro didn't really have one, or at least if they did, I never saw it.
Oh, okay. But anyway, so this thing will enlarge the screen to like 2 inches.
Yes, the Game Boy had stuff like Game Boy.
Okay. Yeah. So anyway, so that's everything coming out. So basically $50 per. If you want to spend an extra $50, you can get the magnifying glass to bring it up to a 2-inch screen.
So right now, if you're watching on YouTube, I have in my hand, which is actually one of my favorite versions, excuse me, of the Game Boy. This is the Game Boy Micro.
Yep.
Very tiny. It was meant to be tiny. Came out in, I want to say, early 2000. Oh.
And that screen that you're holding up right there, that 2-inch screen, is almost double the size of what's on the Game Gear Micro.
So, yeah, and I'm going to, hopefully this thing still has power. I don't even know power. I don't know last time I booted it up. There it goes.
Oh, it's turning on.
Okay, sweet. So, a little bit of a glare. But nevertheless, I loved the Micro. What do I got? I got Zelda.
Zelda's on there. Four Swords? Yeah, Four Swords.
Yeah, it's actually, oh my God, look at this. Now I'm going to stop playing. Oh, no, you know what it was? It was A Link to the Past, but it also had
Four Swords Adventure. Okay.
The reason why I loved this micro, first of all, honestly, the smaller the screen, the better the resolution. In all honesty, I mean, if I can butts around this just real quick, just how smooth it transitions there.
Mm-hmm.
The screen pops. It really looks amazing. It only played Game Boy Advance games. But what I loved about it at the time was literally it goes right into your pocket.
Right.
A time where iPhones were just a blip on the screen, not even. You can take this on the road, you literally throw it into your back pocket, and you can play. I remember actually when I started my regular job all 13 years ago. I remember during orientation we had like a 5-minute break.
Mm-hmm.
I literally popped this out of my pocket, the Game Boy Micro, and I started playing a game. And I remember someone came up to me and was like, "What is that?" I'm like, "It's a Game Boy. It's a Game Boy Advance." They're like, "Why is it so tiny?" I'm like, "That's what Nintendo does. They just shrink things eventually."
Mm-hmm.
I like this one because it's got the Famicom colors.
Yeah, and that's really cool. Yeah, but now imagine, and here's the thing with the Game Gear Micro. Now you're dealing with a screen that's about half the size of what you've shown, right? 1.15 inch.
Yeah.
How do you play Sonic the Hedgehog on a screen that small?
That, and I just want to check. I mean, are you sure it's a 2-inch screen on the Game Boy Micro?
Well, that's what this article had related to it. Yeah.
No, that's fine.
It says it makes the Game Boy Micro's 2-inch panel sound huge by comparison.
There we go. That makes sense.
Yep.
Oh yeah, there it goes. Yeah, I see it now. Yeah, screen 2 inches.
So like a game like Sonic, I can't imagine playing on there. A game like Shining Force, though, where it's more RPG and that whole turn-based system, I can see that working a little bit better on the system. But what?
If you got to read it.
Well, yeah, if you got to read it, that's part of the problem. And that's why, like, this whole thing, like, to me, it's more a novelty than anything else. Like, but for a $50 novelty, like, for me, obviously, and my history with handheld games.
You're not a fan of handheld games. But here's the thing, and here's the thing. Again, the Game Gear was not known to have good games. It was mostly, I forgot who mentioned it. A friend of mine mentioned it. It was mostly, like, just ports of master games.
Yeah.
Don't get me wrong. All the Sonic games were not direct ports. I think they were basically just redone.
Mm-hmm.
The Sonic games were awesome. I loved them. Tails Adventure, fantastic. In fact, it's funny. As usual, I would say about 2 months ago, I had just downloaded. I'm like, you know what? On the 3DS, you can buy Game Gear games.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm like, you know what? Let me get all the Sonic games and let me get a couple other games. And they're like $3-4 each.
Yep.
So I bought a bunch of them. I mean, granted, it's going to work out cheaper than these Game Gear Micros, but just the fact that I bought all of them and then, like, just mere months later, they announced this little system, I find hysterical. And I do have the Shining Force game on the 3DS, which is really, I don't even think I owned it originally, to be honest with you.
Cool.
But nevertheless, so game-wise, the Sonic games are worth it. The Shining Force games would be worth it if they're in English.
But they won't be unless they announce a Western release.
Yeah.
They're not going to translate those.
Probably get away with playing it. We're not really worried about the text too much.
Mm-hmm.
You really don't get much of the story, but the core gameplay is there. And then obviously, as you heard, one of the systems, I think it was the red one, sounds more Japanese oriented as far as their games.
I think so, except for Columns.
Columns, even that more, we had it here. And it's funny, the only 4 games I have for Game Gear are still Halley Wars, which is like a spaceship game.
Okay.
Of course I got my Miss Pac-Man.
You have to have your Miss Pac-Man.
Sonic 2, in fact.
Very important.
Sonic and Tails, and a game that's near and dear to your heart, Echo the Dolphin.
Nice.
I don't know why I have Echo. I hated Echo the Dolphin.
I don't know either. The games I have on Game Gear, and I don't have them in front of me, but I have my app, my game collection app, CLZ Games. I've told you about this, right?
Oh, yeah.
Okay. So on my game collection app, for Game Gear, I have The Lion King.
Okay.
Shining Force, The Sword of Haya. So there is an English version of it. WWF Raw, WWF Steel Cage Challenge, And the two games that I really enjoyed on the Game Gear the most, X-Men and X-Men Game Master's Legacy.
Yes, those were good. Now, I'm not saying that it's like either the game really hit or it absolutely
Mm-hmm.
missed.
Yeah, exactly. Oh, and you know what I just noticed in this app? Um, it gives a number to each game, I guess, as I input it. So like my Game Gear games are like numbers 478, 480, 481, 496. Like it tells me when I put it in, like what number it is in my collection.
Hurry up to that. He hit Game Gear. Nice.
Yeah, so if I go to my Xbox collection, which I just got a bunch of stuff from Game On, I can tell you now that my game collection is in the 580 range.
Nice. Good for you.
581, I believe.
My pop vinyls is slowly approaching that number.
Yep. So well, that's actually interesting, and I do like that. So for what I'm talking about is there's an app called CLZ Games. It's a collection app that allows you to input a certain collection. This one's specifically for video games. I have one for video games and I have one for comic books. And when you put the game in, you can just scan the barcode on it or just look them up, and it actually has the cover of the game and then all of the information, like when it was released, developer, and all that stuff. It's a very, very cool app, and it's on the computer as well, so you can use it on your PC or on your Mac, whatever. It's online, and you can use it on your phone, which is cool.
So the Game Gear Micro, definitely a collector's. For fun, I went online just to see what was available. The black was definitely sold out when I first saw. And it was funny. So last week we had the episode, and a great listener, the Unfun Gamer on Instagram. You can go follow the Unfun Gamer, and there's underscores underneath each one of the words. Put up, he goes, "Gee, I wonder." This was after they announced the Game Gear Micro. Ultimately, we didn't announce it last week because we didn't know about it. So he goes. This sounds like something Larry would purchase right off the bat. So, but when I went online, I just out of curiosity, because that 1-inch screen, I was like, the games, 4 systems, I'm like, eh. So when I went on, it was sold out. And then I went on an hour later, they were available, and mine will be delivered in October.
I was going to say, when did you pre-order it?
I pre-ordered a couple days ago. I'm getting all 4 of them along with
Holy cow.
Along with the what the hell you call that thing? The screen that you were just talking about?
Oh, the magnifying screen?
Yes. So all of those will be delivered accordingly in October, because if I've learned nothing else, ordering from Japan is now super simple. And by God, when they ship, it comes to me the next day.
I have a sneaky suspicion that this is going to be a repeat of the PlayStation Classic.
No. I mean, one of them I won't even be able to play. So
exactly,
because if that yellow one is all in Japanese, then that's just gonna go. What I hope though is I hope I get 4 separate boxes.
I doubt that.
No. I meant like each individual Game Gear Micro in their own box, and just throw them all in one shipping box.
Well, here's the thing. This is what you need to do when they arrive in October, and you have to figure out how to do this. I want to see you live stream one of these.
I could.
Yeah.
Right. I mean, I'm not gonna do it now, but I can. I can show you there.
Because because it's so tiny, we're gonna see these giant thumbs.
Oh my God! Honestly,
with this tiny screen.
God gave me these thumbs for a reason.
Well, no, not even that. I'm just saying the camera's gonna be so close to the system.
It's gonna be ridiculous. The headphone jack is almost as big as the system.
Yeah, but that's just crazy. But I wish you the best of luck with them. I will not be purchasing them.
I didn't think, even if it was a regular system, I didn't think you would.
Well,
because you're not into handheld games, that's all.
No, I mean, if they had said they were releasing a Game Gear Mini that hooked up to my television, I'd probably consider it if it had the right games on it.
Yeah, I mean, I guess that's true. Well, you got analogs coming out with the handheld that will have the tag. So we'll see. But yes, the Unfun Gamer, you are correct. I did end up ordering it, and of course, I pre-ordered it, which means it will drop in price about 4 days after I get it.
Mm-hmm.
Take it from there.
Only you.
Look, it's interests me. I'm not going to any conventions this year. I'm not going to any cons. I'm not getting any D-grade celebrity autographs. This money's got to go somewhere. You know, when I die, I can't bring it with me.
No, that's very true. But you know, hey, look, who am I to judge? Oh, who am I kidding? I always judge, so it's all good.
Harsh is judging the crew.
I don't know what you're talking about. That was a terrible statement to make. Shame on you.
There he is judging me on my statement.
Mm-hmm.
So we want to hear more of your thoughts. Unfun gamer, I don't want to hear from you anymore. But we want to hear about this Game Gear Micro and the fog gaming, cloud gaming. You know, obviously hit us up on Facebook, on Twitter, on Instagram. Here on YouTube in the comments section below, right down there, there's a whole nice section. So check it out. Other than that, any other news? Just general news? You know, not Sega news, maybe.
Yeah, we got some general stuff this week. Really, it's just kind of we're just doing kind of random news stuff. So, Bandai Namco, they have decided to release a very special edition or it's called a Legends edition for an upcoming game.
I'll go special edition. I'll go deluxe. I don't do Legends.
Why do I have a feeling after I announce this, though, you're going to order it? So anyway, they revealed the Legends edition for a game called Captain Tsubasa Rise of New Champions. And basically, the game itself is actually... It'll be available on the eShop. I'm not familiar with the games.
Okay.
It is a sports-related game. I'm assuming it's soccer based on the way that it looks.
Not a fan of soccer, but okay.
Not a fan of soccer. However, if you buy the Legends edition, and this is going to be available on the Switch, the PlayStation 4, and PC, if I'm not mistaken. Okay. So with the Legends edition, you get a copy of the game on the platform of your choice. Okay. You get a character pass, which features all 9 DLC players.
Oh, okay. All right.
You get a season pass bonus.
Fair enough.
You get a football jersey.
Oh, well, you said it was a soccer game.
Well, yes.
Okay.
Soccer is called football everywhere but here. Okay. You get rainbow lamination collectible cards.
Okay.
You get a steel book case.
Yeah, that's fancy. I know a lot of people.
You get a collector's box.
Okay, that's nice. Steel book and a collector's box.
And last but not least, you get a fully customized foosball table.
Like regulation size?
A cafe-type foosball table furnished with legs with reinforcing cross pieces, metal foosballers screwed onto telescopic steel bars with a chrome finish, metal sliding rods with tempered steel shock absorbers, ABS handles, ball returner to pitch center, Gerflex game surface with corners, comes with 2 balls.
That sounds like regulation size. I'll tell you, I have no room for that.
It is basically a regulation size foosball table with the Legends edition of Captain Tsubasa, Rise of the New Champions, and it can be yours for...
Yeah, the price is right.
€1,989, which comes out to $2,200 American. It will be released on August 28th of this year, and pre-orders are now live on Bandai Namco's European website. So this is clearly catering to the European groups.
No, definitely. No, they're into
European players.
They like their foosball.
Yeah.
Forever.
But a full foosball table with a video game.
That's pretty interesting.
Yeah. Are they telling you not to play the game because you can just play the foosball game?
Can you plug the foosball table into the system and play the game like that?
No.
That'd be interesting. Yeah. I would probably buy it then. Real quick, talking about Bandai Namco. I think it was 2 weeks ago when we were talking about Pac-Man's 40th anniversary. Again, just I guess so now the world is interesting in what garbage I might buy. Not that it's garbage. When I say garbage, just mean like it's not needed in my life. I did not pre-order the 40th anniversary Pac-Man 1/4 size arcade machine signed by the creator of Pac-Man. Only 256 available. Not because of price, but because literally I actually made an adult decision, and I looked around my apartment and I'm like, I have nowhere to put this.
Well, and here's the thing. I would have actually had, I would have actually been happier to hear that you ordered that than the Game Gear Micro Collection, which is almost the same price.
It is almost the same price.
and it was a 1/10 scale. It's not that big.
I got nowhere. It's big enough that I have nowhere to put it.
Larry, we got to talk about your decisions.
I know it's not an arcade 1-up, but I mean, it's smaller than an arcade. At least an arcade, I could justify putting it. I have this one section where I would put an arcade 1-up, like as soon as you walk into my apartment. But I like the machine, the arcade machine signed is small. It's like Goldilocks. It's just right, not really be able to put it in my apartment.
Well, I'm going to say that I'm going to go out on a limb and say either the Unfun Gamer or some of our other listeners are definitely going to pass judgment on you for choosing the Game Gear Micro over the signed Pac-Man 40th anniversary.
We will reserve time and judgment for them. Feel free to comment below.
Yes, please do. And then I have a couple other things, but I want to jump back to Bandai Namco. Well, I'll say this really quickly before I go to Bandai Namco, just to make us feel older. And I know we used to do mini segments for retro birthdays. I'm just throwing it in here, but in case you haven't felt old, Earthbound, that wonderful game that you can play on your Super Nintendo Mini.
Yes.
Or if you ever played it before. Earthbound turned 25 this week.
Really?
25 years old.
Ouch. That one does hurt.
Yeah, that one hurts me a lot too. Mostly because I never played it and I always wanted to. And I have it on my Super Nintendo Mini just waiting to be played. So
it is a very, very interesting game.
Yep.
For the record, that arcade cabinet is sold out. So.
Yeah, well, of course it is. There were only 256 of them.
Now I feel better about it, but they do sell a smaller size Ms. Pac-Man.
Yeah, they have you can buy the smaller 40th anniversary one, I think, for like $129.
Yeah, what is Ms. Pac-Man? That's interesting.
Oh, okay. So there wasn't room for the autographed one, but the Ms. Pac-Man one, of course. Okay, moving on. Before I jump into back to Bandai Namco, I just want to bring this up too. It is that time of year where Sony has their Days of Play sale, and Xbox has their equivalent sales as well during the same time. It's always like somewhere around the first week of June.
Yeah. Usually around what would have been E3.
E3, yeah. So when E3 comes out, usually they have these Days of Play. So right now, Sony and Microsoft are doing some really solid deals. Check it out on your systems, on your consoles. You can get a 12-month membership now for PlayStation Plus for $42.
Usually when I buy it, actually.
Yeah.
Get it for sale, get it on sale. Yeah, it just adds.
And then a lot of popular games are anywhere from like 33 to 75% off. So Resident Evil 3, which just came out like a month and a half ago, they took $20 off. It's $40 right now. Spider-Man Game of the Year edition is $20, which I think you bought, right?
It's always $20 now. That thing is always on sale.
Yeah. You can get Dark Souls Remastered for $16, Halo Wars 2 for $10, Halo 5 Guardians for $10, Forza Motorsport 7 for $10. So basically, lots of good sales. You can go check them out. And it's not just on the consoles themselves. Best Buy, Amazon, Walmart, GameStop, they're all carrying these sales as well if you want the physical copies, which is what I do. There are also some console deals as well.
Usually they have like exclusive like consoles. I know like last year it was like a really cool PS4 State of Play or Plays for Days or Days of Thunder, whatever.
Yeah, the ones I'm seeing here, there's no PS4 Special Edition console, but Xbox One X They had a Cyberpunk 2077 Xbox One X for $299. That sold out already. But you can get an Xbox One X Star Wars Jedi Fallen Order bundle for $300, or a Gears 5 bundle for $300 as well.
All right, it's not bad.
Yeah, so some good sales going on for what would have been E3. Sad face. And that's it for that part of the sales.
Okay.
I got one other bit of news to close this out, unless you have something.
I got nothing.
Yeah, of course you do. All right, so back to Bandai Namco, because this is interesting for the retro gamer side of both of us. So apparently, Bandai Namco is about to release a collection in Japan called the Namcot Collection, which is a series of classic titles from Namco. Mm-hmm. And apparently, they have plans to release these here in the US, according to the Microsoft store. So I'm not sure if it's just going to be for Xbox or if it's going to be everywhere else. I'm assuming it will be for PlayStation and Switch as well. They're releasing 2 Namco Museum archives. And they're supposed to be showing up on June 18th. So only a couple of weeks from now. And what do you get in these? So Namco Museum Archives Volume 1 will include Dig Dug, Dragon Buster, Dragon Spirit the New Legend, Galaxian, Mappy, Pac-Man, Pac-Man Championship Edition in an 8-bit demastered version.
No.
Yep.
I'm in on that.
Splatterhouse, Sky Kid, The Tower of Druaga, and Xevious.
Ooh, those are some good games. But I get Championship Edition in 8-bit. Oh, man.
I want that. Yeah, I want that collection just for that, because I love Pac-Man Championship Edition.
That's worth admission alone.
Yep. And then Volume 2, Namco Museum Archives Volume 2 will include Battle City, Dig Dug 2, Dragon Buster 2, Galaga in an 8-bit consoleized version.
That sounds like something we already have.
Yeah, so I'm curious to see what that is. Gapless, which I don't know what that is. Legacy of the Wizard, Mappy Land, Mendel Palace, Pac-Land, Rolling Thunder, and Super Xevious.
Pac-Land. That's worth it not to buy the
right, exactly. I definitely say of the 2, Volume 1 is definitely the stronger of the 2. Looks like Volume 2's got a lot of sequels.
Did they talk about prices?
No prices listed.
Okay. But you said roughly in a couple weeks.
Yeah, it's I guess the Microsoft Store has it listed at June 18th release, so we'll see if that holds.
That's interesting.
Yeah, but I thought that was a good bit of news. I'm like, ooh, more retro collections. And the Namco games are nothing that, obviously they have some really solid games. So
and Namco is on the map for a reason. They definitely, I can't think of really a bad Namco game. So at least arcade wise.
I'm sure they're out there. I'm just not thinking of them.
Oh no, that's correct. And what's funny is like what a lot of these arcade games, there's a on YouTube. I may have mentioned them before. There's a channel on YouTube, Patman QC, Patman Q. And what he does, he just puts up these reviews, like the history of Tempest, the history of Popeye the arcade game, all this stuff. He's got a ton of videos up there, and he's huge, and he's a big bowling fan. And he's like, his early stuff is all bowling video games. And what's interesting, the guy's a quadriplegic, and he loves bowling and arcade games.
Oh, that's really cool.
Yeah, and it's just listening to him is just like really cool. You can hear the passion in his voice and everything. But every time he reviews an old arcade game, I end up falling in love with it, and then I end up buying it on like Arcade Archives or something. I just did with Moon Patrol recently.
Which game?
Excuse me, Moon Patrol. Remember Moon Patrol?
Yes.
And I think I also like Shinobi. I'm like, oh, I never saw Shinobi in this light, and I end up buying it on the Switch. So like these arcade games, which he's reviewed a few of them, sound like they're in this collection. So I'm actually like really looking forward to getting my hands on these collections. That's something. As soon as we're done recording, I'm probably gonna hop on the Xbox to check that out
and pre-order them.
Maybe I missed out on my my Pac-Man, but I am very happy about my Game Gear Micros.
Okay. See, I'm trying not to judge, but my brain doesn't. It really wants to.
I can throw the micros right here. I can put them right here.
You won't even see them.
Oh, I'll see them when I'm sitting on the couch. where am I going to put? I mean, I probably could have fit the arcade up here somewhere or something. I don't know.
Yeah, they're about the size of a keychain. I can't wait to see. I can't wait for the episode when you come on and say you lost them.
Like I did my Wii.
Yeah.
Lost an entire game system.
Well, that part I don't understand because the Wii's not small, but a Game Gear Micro I can understand.
Still looking for that Wii.
Yeah.
Find it. I don't know, who knows when. So.
Yeah. And that's all I got for this week.
All right. Well, you know what? We'll probably call it a little early then. Well, not early. It's we had a good run here.
Yeah.
All right. Yeah. So good stuff. Good stuff. Again, as always, hit us up. Facebook.com/Retro Gamers Podcast. Instagram @Retro Gamers Podcast. Twitter @Retro Gamers Pod. And of course, you can email us, email at the Retro Gamers Podcast. And we got a couple of
email at theretrogamers.com.
Oh, I'm sorry. Yes. Again, that's email at theretrogamers.com. I got to say, we did get a couple of new on Apple podcasts. I saw a couple of new reviews within the last week or two.
Oh, well, thank you very much.
Absolutely, thank you very much. One of them, who's now becoming the bane of my existence, was the Unfun Gamer.
Yes.
But please, wherever you listen to podcasts, please give us 5 stars, give us a like, whatever system they use. Subscribe to us on YouTube. And remember, hit that bell icon on YouTube so you know every time a new episode goes up. I just recently, just for fun, me and my buddy Mario, who's been on the podcast before, we got together, played a couple of games on the TurboGrafx Mini. Just for fun. It was like a half hour. Threw it up on YouTube. Just check it out. We're just BSing, just having a good time. That's all. So you'll always be notified whenever something new goes up.
Yeah. All right. Very cool. Yeah. And I did see that. And we also, we put up our episode every Tuesday, and then we have our Flashback Friday episode that goes up.
Classics every Friday. And remember, when the classics are done on the podcast side, they will continue through episode 99 on the YouTube side. So you will be getting some classics for a while.
Yep.
And with that, I think we will call it, right, Ant?
Yeah, thankfully.
All right, cool. So you're going to go pre-order anything? I know you're going to get a micro. Which one? Come on, you said you wanted the yellow one.
No, well, I'm tempted for the yellow one just for the sake of the Shining Force games, but I'm never going to play it. So I don't think I'm going to be pre-ordering those.
Look at all this stuff that I don't play.
Yeah, I know, but I want stuff I can't play on my big screen, not on a tiny screen.
And folks, we will catch you right here next week on the Retro Gamers Podcast.